We're not going to talk about a disease today. Not really. Instead, we're going to tell a story. It's a story about your body's own internal rhythm, its pace setter, and how just one small signal can be an invitation to start listening a little more closely. So let's dive into the story of the thyroid.
This quote right here, it gets right to the heart of it. So often, the conversation around the thyroid is just filled with fear, right? But what if we just reframed it? What if we saw it not as some kind of mistake, but as a message, a little reminder from our own body? And that's the perspective we're going to use for this explainer.
All right, so let's start with a woman. She's 48 years old. Her morning is just like any other. It's structured, it's efficient, everything has its place. She's getting ready for a big day. Meetings, clients, you know the drill. There's this sense of a well-oiled machine, of total control.
And then, in just a quick glance in the mirror, something shifts. It's not a lump, it's not a pain, it's just a subtle asymmetry in her neck, a tiny bit of puffiness on one side that, she doesn't remember being there before. It's such a small detail you could almost miss it.
She brushes it off at first, right? Who has time to worry about that? But that tiny little observation, it's left a mark. And this is the exact moment her journey really begins. It's the shift from a vague, subjective feeling to what's eventually going to become an objective diagnosis. And it all started because she listened to that one tiny signal.
So, to really understand her journey and what this all means, we first need to understand the main character in this whole story, the thyroid itself. What is its actual job in the grand scheme of our body? What does it really do?
Okay, so here's the absolute key point. The thyroid doesn't create energy. Think of your body's energy like fuel that's already in the tank, from your food and oxygen. The thyroid's job is to decide how fast you burn that fuel. It literally sets the pace for your entire system.
A really great way to think about this is the generator analogy. Just imagine your body is this massive power generator. The thyroid, it's the dial that controls the RPMs, the revolutions per minute. If you crank that dial too high, the whole engine overheats. You burn out. But if you turn it too low, the engine just stalls and everything slows way down.
So how does it control this speed? Well, with hormones, of course, T4 and T3. And this comparison to a currency system, it is just brilliant. Think of T4 as your savings account. It's abundant, it's stable, it's a reserve fund just sitting there. But T3, that's the cash in your wallet. There's less of it, but man, it's powerful and ready for immediate use. Your body is basically a financial genius, converting that T4 into active T3 exactly where it's needed, kind of like hitting an ATM only when you actually need to spend some cash.
But wait, what's telling the thyroid what to do? Well, that is a masterpiece called the HPX axis. And you can forget about a simple top-down command chain. It is so much smarter than that. Think of it like a smart thermostat in your house. The hypothalamus and the pituitary are the sensors, constantly checking the body's temperature. They send signals to the thyroid, the furnace, to turn up or down. And then the thyroid's output signals right back to them. It's this beautiful, constant, self-correcting feedback loop, all designed to keep things in perfect balance.
So, our character's journey moves forward. There's an ultrasound, a biopsy, and then the diagnosis comes in: thyroid cancer. Now, as terrifying as that sounds, her doctor is remarkably calm. He says it's the most common type, it's slow-growing, and it has a very, very good prognosis. So her story becomes our way of understanding what happens when this perfectly tuned system gets a little out of whack.
When this perfect rhythm breaks, it usually swings one of two ways. First, you've got hyperthyroidism. This is the system being overclocked. The RPMs are just redlining. It's like your body's engine is burning fuel faster than it can be supplied, just throwing off energy as heat and noise. And the result? That feeling of anxiety, a heart that's always racing, losing weight without trying. Everything is just too fast. And then you have the other side, hypothyroidism. This is the system downclocked. The generator is stalling out. The result here is this deep, profound fatigue, brain fog that makes even simple things feel impossible. Weight gain. It's a feeling that your body's fundamental ability to just keep things in order is declining.
Okay, so this brings us to one of the most common and frankly anxiety-inducing discoveries, the nodule. What is it really? The word itself sounds pretty scary, so let's try to reframe it based on what's actually happening in the system. And this right here is where we can totally flip the script on the whole idea of a nodule. It is not some alien invader that just appeared out of nowhere. A much better way to think about it is as a low connection zone. Imagine a river.
and the flow gets blocked. Over time, what happens? Sediment builds up. A nodule is kind of like that sediment. It's the physical result of a long-term disruption in the flow of energy and information. It's a sign that one part of the system has become a little bit isolated from the rest.
Now look, while the vast majority of nodules are completely benign, knowing the potential red flags is just plain smart. It helps us separate healthy caution from needless anxiety. So if a lump is growing quickly, that's a signal because it suggests cells are dividing rapidly. If you have hoarseness that just won't go away, it could mean the nodule is pressing on the nerves to your voice box. Difficulty swallowing or breathing, that could be about its size or position. If it feels hard and stuck in one place instead of soft and movable, that's worth a closer look. And finally, if it comes with swollen lymph nodes, that tells us the immune system is really active in that area. Again, these aren't reasons to panic, but they are absolutely reasons to go get a professional evaluation.
So once a problem has been identified, how in the world do you restore that harmony? This is where our character's story moves from diagnosis into action. And it's not about fighting a battle, it's about rebuilding balance in the entire system. A really solid, integrated approach looks at healing from 3 different angles. First, you have to control the immediate risk. Then, you work on restoring the body's underlying environment. And finally, you address the highest level of control, the signals our own mind sends to our body. Let's break each one down.
Step 1 is what the source material calls parameter hedging. This is the absolutely vital role of conventional medicine. Whether we're talking about medication for an over- or underactive thyroid or surgery for cancer, the goal here is to quickly stabilize the system. You manage the immediate risk and you pull the body back from a dangerous edge. It creates safety and it buys you time.
Okay, so once things are stable, we can move to step 2, system governance. This is all about improving the landscape, the environment that the thyroid is operating in. Holistic approaches, including principles from traditional Chinese medicine, focus on things like your gut health, your energy flow, and reducing inflammation. You're not just managing the thyroid anymore. You're reducing the overall strain on the entire system. And now for the final and maybe most crucial piece of the puzzle, cognitive and emotional regulation. Remember that smart thermostat, the HPT axis? Well, it responds directly to stress and our emotional state. This step is all about recalibrating our response to the world around us and changing those top-down command signals that can disrupt the thyroid's rhythm in the first place.
So what happened to the woman who started this whole journey just by noticing a tiny little something in the mirror? Well, a year after her surgery, her life is back in rhythm. Sure, she takes a daily pill to maintain her hormone levels, but way more importantly, she has a completely new relationship with her body. She gets it now. She sees it as a system. That discovery one morning, it wasn't an end. It was, just like this quote says, another kind of beginning.
So here's the ultimate takeaway. What if we all started to view our health not as a series of isolated problems that need to be fixed, but as a dynamic, intelligent system that's constantly talking to us? The story of the thyroid is such a powerful teacher. It shows us that sometimes the most profound thing we can possibly do is just learn how to listen. Thanks for tuning in.